everybody, welcome to Flanagan's and welcome to the 2022 haggis hunts.
You're doing great.
You got this.
In a little while we will be starting the haggis hunts, but before that starts, our founding fathers need to come out of retirement and tell you all about the haggis hunts, the history, and what you'll be doing. All right. Bob, Mike.
Well, we were very proud to be asked to come out of retirement. Mike started this way back in the 1990s, thinking about this. We went to a radio station. They asked us to talk for 10 minutes. We ended up doing two-hour shows, all about the haggis. And so we're here for a couple of hours before we go to the hunt.
No doubt.
They gave us microphone. Oh, big mistake. Before we start, though, I would like to mention a few people that are here. We have Julie Bajowski, who is our mayor of She's promised us great weather for Saturday. So we have Caroline Mathers here from Sterling. She's in charge of their art and museum over there in Sterling, so we're happy to have her here. The painting that you brought over is gorgeous. I got a sneak peek this today. We also have Terry Eldridge here. Terry Eldridge is now the chief of the day. Several of us have been chiefs of the day for the games. It was a big honor for all of us, but we served 1 year. Terry's going on his third year as chief of the day because we had to cancel a few games. So he is the longest reigning chief of the day.
And hopefully the longest ever.
Ever, yes. We have Sarah Powers over in the corner. Sarah! Oh, she's the president of the EC of the entire NWC organization. And we're proud to have her over here. Also, we have the vice president here tonight, Jeanette Pomeroy. She's over there. She'll be taking care of the haggis hunt shortly once they kick Mike and I off the stage. Oh, and thank you, Jason, for opening your doors and turning on the mic. If we're on here too long with a microphone, it's Jason's fault.
My God, he can talk.
Yes, he can.
You think?
Really? Look who's talking.
Make yourself comfortable. This may take a little bit. So, we're going to tell you some haggis lore. Not of the old haggai in Scotland, but of the North American West Florida striped haggis. And before we start, we want to let you know that this is not fantasy. These are facts.
Okay.
Yes, that's true.
They're all true.
They're all true. So what we want you to do is like when we give you a good fact, when you think of Santa Claus, when you think of the Easter Bunny, when you think of the great North American snipe, these are all related to the haggis. And I want you to, when I raise my hand, I want you from the bottom of your heart, with all your Celtic DNA, to say, it's true. Let's do it. Let's practice. 1, 2, 3.
It's true!
Okay, watch for the high signs. Way back during the first ice age, the haggis evolved alongside their cousins, the papyrus. Platypus. Papyrus. It was written on papyrus. It's about platypus. They migrated across the joint continents until they reached their home, the Scottish Highlands.
Yeah, there you go.
The male haggai are herbivores only, not eating meat of any kind. They were the first vegans. But they munched on grass constantly, and they always were searching for their favorite food, oats. So, as a matter of fact, the main reason they settled in Scotland was because of the many wild oats sown there by the Highlanders.
Now the female haggis was omnivorous, eating both the grass and the oats, and occasionally during mating season only, ate whatever local fauna are available, especially small birds and young animals. Now, also remember with Drew, this is one of the first times we've ever done this sober.
This is tough. In the Scottish Highlands, the haggis. Now, the plural of a haggis is haggai, not haggisi, like the English say. Haggai. They became prolific and they populated the hillsides with their offspring. The offspring were called haggles. They lived in harmony with the other denizens of the hills, the brownies. The brownies and the fairies would use the haggis as beasts of burden. As a matter of fact, the brownies and fairies would trade in haggis offspring with their cousins to the south, the leprechauns. Arguments over the pricing of the transaction actually began to be called by the names of the beast, and to haggle became a part of the language of the region.
But then the dreaded sheep arrived, the haggis' mortal enemy. When the sheep realized that the haggai ate grass, they started to eat the haggis. Oh yes. One full-size sheep could eat 10 or 12 haggis a day. The sheep could gorge themselves on the different haggis that were running around at that time. This gave rise to the misconception that the haggis are sheep stomachs stuffed with the organs. Oh no. They are actually the haggis stuffed in the sheep's stomachs.
It's true! It's
true! The local people lived off the haggis. Haggis hunting affected many areas of Scottish culture, all across the board. For instance, when the first men in the area tried to hunt the haggai wearing improper clothing, they were mauled. Yes, an agitated or a hyper haggis, trying desperately to find the safety of its burrow, would mistakenly run up a pant leg, and while doing so did savagely claw and scratch its way to the top, where it caused considerable damage to future generations of Scots. Wily Highlanders then devised a garment, worn from then on throughout the Highlands, that had no pant legs.
So to survive, some of the more aggressive species of haggai learned to attack the kilted hunters by leaping directly at the future generation area with their claws extended. The Highlanders responded by wearing a small wooden shield covered with leather directly over the targeted region. Some men would wear known haggis enemies like badgers, however, the fox heads or even horsehair. They were all of these were their effective in wandering off the haggis, warding off the haggis. These were called the Celtic sporran and sporran tournament, yes.
Or pouch protection.
Today that has been shortened to sporran, or in the English, pouches.
It's true!
Male and female haggises live apart, with the males roaming in one or twos throughout the area, but females hunt in packs until mating season. Females hunt in packs just like they go to the bathroom here in Flanagan's.
It's true!
It's true!
Totally true.
Totally. They will pair off during mating season, but invariably there are more females than males, since more males are lost to the sheep, who are the dreaded enemy of haggis.
It's true.
Remember that the males are usually found alone and eating grass. The haggis will pair off, males usually choosing the younger, good-looking females first.
It's true.
And then the older, until finally the oldest, ugliest females are left. And the unpaired female will then give off a keening sound through the 3 holes in her bill that is akin to 3 bagpipe drums. Out of tune. It is a lonely, melancholy sound coming through the highland mist in the gloaming, which will break one's heart. Many a song was written about the lonely hag of the highlands, mostly in the Gaelic, which is probably why you haven't heard it, because none of you people speak it. And even today, all pipers, when they first fire up the pipes, in honor of the hag of the highlands, will play their drums out of tune and sung much longer than others.
It's true.
Well, now we all know the haggis live in small burrows, almost like rabbits, and usually are near the coast or near water, since they are wonderful swimmers. A female haggis and her huddle of haggles make a great silhouette swimming across the loch. With their mother's neck stretched out in the back to watch over their babies. Aye, some say it looks like Nessie. But I think that's something a little bit too far-fetched. There's a local legend near Loch Ness that's the strapping haggis. You know, he told me to read these things, and I left my glasses in the car.
No, they're
I
right
didn't
here.
know I was reading. But anyway.
I got readers.
There's a local legend.
I just remembered them. That's awesome.
Oh, there's words.
I gotta start talking like this. This can go on for hours, you know. Yeah, strapping haggis. There's a local legend near Loch Ness that the strapping haggis, I can read this now, onto one's feet and repel Nessie, or throwing live tide haggis into the loch itself. This is taken way too seriously, and being thrown into the loch whenever Nessie has been sighted has killed many a haggai. The RSPCH has been on top of this, and there are just enough, we should have told them, there are not enough officers, though, to stop this. On the other hand, we haven't seen Nessie in quite a while, so the effort might be just working.
It's
It's true.
Well, sheep eating the haggis would change the world as we knew it in the mid-17th to 18th centuries. The haggis population was dropping fast, starting a famine that would change the course of world history. There were just too many Highlanders to last on crops alone, and without the haggis to feed them, they started to leave. Unsuspecting landowners would bring in more sheep to make up for the lost rent, and the sheep would eat more haggis, repeating the cycle. The people left in droves, going to Ireland, the young USA, and even Canada. This was, of course, the underlying root cause of the Highland clearances.
It's true.
The Haggai, seeing more sheep coming in all the time, were forced to make a choice. In the early 18th century, they started to leave, mostly riding with the Highlanders in the ships to Canada. Once they got near the land, the Haggai would slip overboard and swim to the coast. Today, haggis are found all over Canada, wherever people of Scottish descent are living.
Now, the Canadians are famous for their haggis, the North American spotted haggis. They are tender but hard to catch due to the large size. Once haggis were established in Canada, they interbred with the American snipe, making them larger but less visible than their Scottish counterparts. When the Canadians started to vacation here in West Florida in the early 1950s and on, they would drive down in their motor cars unsuspectingly causing a second migration of the haggis. Haggles were crawled into the trunks, but for the Brits, they're called the boots, and of their cars, and when unloading their luggage, would free their little haggles. The area is perfect for haggis, especially near the coast. For the males, there are well-manicured lawns and golf courses everywhere. There are strands of sea oats on every causeway, and not a sheep to be seen.
It's true.
That's true.
The females here feed on what is considered a delicacy for the haggis, the Canadian snowbird, a true paradise for them.
It's true.
So why do you say we think there's too many haggis around, we need a haggis hunt? Well, there's small gopher holes that are being found in the golf courses. The gopher bait is not working. The sea oats are all disappearing. If you've been up to the causeway lately, you see it, they're gone. In January 2003, 2 imported Scottish haggi brought in for a burn supper were inadvertently set free from Flanagan's, and they escaped into Dunedin and up into the causeway. They communicated with the local haggi here, reminded the Florida haggis of the ancient defenses against haggis hunters. A pox on Flanagan's staff. It probably was Jason. There's also small cats were missing. People were actually blaming coyotes in Florida. It's haggis. Many more out-of-tune drone sounds are being heard, especially in the area around Dunedin High and middle schools. Sarasota High, Lake Wells, wherever lads and lasses of Scotch descent are frequenting, we expect that the female to male haggis is too high. That's why you're here tonight. And we're also not seeing as many Canadian snowbirds as we used to. The area around Dunedin Blue Jay Stadium used to be filled with snowbirds, along with the bingo parlors at the causeway. All the way from Naples to Jacksonville, Miami to Tallahassee, the sightings of snowbird are down. The Florida Department of Tourism is trying to pass this decrease on hurricane activity and the COVID. We all know the real reason, don't we?
Yes.
Haggis. Therefore, we need tonight to have a haggis hunt and clean this area up. What say you?
It's true.
So now, the haggis hunting methods. When you go out there, you got to think about this. You need to use a haggis lure master and a ghillie hunter. This is preferred method and only highly advertised. The insert single malt scotch into the same. We're open here if anybody is willing to bring us. Yeah, okay. Are they trying to rush us here? Oh, they are, okay. The sun isn't set yet. So anyway, we love to have a little single malt scotch to help us hunt. And let them ramble on about an hour. That's what we do. Yeah. That's true.
It's true.
And then they're going to release the haggles into the wild here to lure the haggi to the field just before the hunt starts. Hold a moment of silence.
Called the hush.
To relax the haggis. If they get agitated, they may escalate to hyperstatus. Oh, and there's a great danger of being mauled. Then release the hunters. They should make for the haggles and capture them. Bring all haggles back to the home base. The hub of Flanagan's here, caused by the hunters, will allow the ghillie to capture the alpha haggis, which he will then parade to the crowd. Haggis will then be butchered and forever inserted into the stomachs and lower of Dunedin, or Jacksonville, or Fort Lauderdale, or Sarasota, or Orlando.
Not Orlando.
Not Orlando? Okay.
Too much fantasy.
Yeah, there's too much fantasy in Orlando. They don't believe about the haggles.
The second thing you got to do is use a haggis hook. You got to stand near the water awaiting what looks like Nessie's silhouette, and then cast your hook into the water. 2 very important rules to follow. Listen up. Always bring something to drink, preferably of alcoholic nature, and for God's sake, man, tie a line to that hook. This is always done in the company of scantily clad, good-looking young women.
Oh,
To, of course, lure the haggis.
we have a lot of wenches in here.
We do. I actually used this method only once. Okay, just as the wife found me on the causeway under the influence and in the company of a scantily clad female. When asked to produce the haggis hunting hook, I explained to her I just had thrown it into the water, but alas had not tied a line to it. So the moral of the story is never forget to have a good line with you.
Oh, it's true.
Now you need to, with me, you need to dig a hole, preferably not in the blacktop, and we place an open bottle of a single malt scotch, and it has to be a good single malt scotch, deep inside the hole. The haggis will drink the scotch, become agitated and drunk, and they're very dangerous at this time and on the verge of going hyper. So we suggest sending a lore master or a gilly to bring the haggis in slowly. Give the professionals at least 100 years. Oh yeah, 100 yards of clearance. I thought we were talking about the clearances in Scotland. But anyway,
He's sober. That's the problem.
that's a problem. So you get a clearance between yourselves and the scotch and the haggis, and don't be surprised if the haggis disappears along with the scotch. It happens quite frequently, and the gilly and the lore master, not resembling a thing later, remembering a thing later, but we always do have a good time.
One thing, real men in the Highlands at first used sticks and stones to hunt the little Bambi-eyed haggai, but that wasn't very sporting, aye? So they challenged each other to use heavier stones and bigger sticks. Walk softly and carry a big stick was the code of a Highlander. As they became more and more proficient in using the larger weapons, the sticks kept escalating in size. It got to the point that sticks became branches, and then logs, and then even poles. As they became even better, the challenge was that one had to, before hitting the target of haggis, bounce the pole off of one end first.
Yeah.
You guessed it, after hunting haggis for centuries, the men were so used to tossing cavers and heavy stones at the haggai. When the haggis thinned out and then moved back to Canada, the Scotsmen started the Highland Games in their honor.
It's true!
It's true.
Well, the safest method is to give the pro haggis hunters the scotch up front. And they will attempt to catch you a haggis if they remember why it is you gave them the scotch in the first place. They will even deleg it, skin it, have it cooked and eat it with you. It tastes surprisingly like liver meatloaf, if you ever had liver meatloaf. Of course, you have to pay for the entire meal and the scotch, but wasn't it worth it?
It's true.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
I can see. There's words on this page.
Thank you, Bob. And our chief now today, Terry Eldridge.
Terry.
So, before we start the haggis hunts, we need to have our ladies go release the haggai into the park. So that'll be in a little bit. But while we're waiting, we do have raffles over at the table. We have 2 gift baskets and a sword. So raffle number 1, 2, and 3. And we also have the Dalmore whiskey bottle raffle, which is a little bit different. You don't get a ticket for that. You write your name and your phone number down. That is drawn electronically at the Highland Games. So if you want any of those, come see me. I'll be happy to give you some tickets.
I want something else.